What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. And I want to look at the receipts for the Ron DeSantis. This is not going to be an exhaustive list, but a lot of people were wondering, Ron DeSantis and Florida representatives banned a bunch of math books. They called them dangerous. And this website, Popular Information, they did some of the work behind it. And they are clearly, bootlicking left-leaning, but they're the ones that have done the most work that I've seen. So I can look at theirs and we can get a sense on why these books were banned. And some of these bannings make sense, some don't. But before I read these, we don't know the exact reason because DeSantis has not said anything. So we're just speculating as to why some of these books might have been banned. Inside the dangerous math textbooks, DeSantis claims would indoctrinate students. They chose 26 books. Well, they banned 54, but 26 of those math textbooks were rejected because they contained prohibited topics. This is critical race theory, social and emotional learning, controversial stuff, and then Common Core. Quote, Ron DeSantis says, it seems that some publishers attempted to slap a coat of paint on an old house built on the foundation of Common Core and indoctrinating concepts like race, essentialism, especially bizarrely for elementary school children or students. Let's look at some of the examples here. I'm going to go down, fast forward through this. First example, this book called Florida Reveal Math Grade 1. It includes a series of questions under the heading Math is ... mindset. Some of these questions. How can you show that you value the ideas of others? And what helps you understand your partner's ideas? The book also encourages students to learn how to work together when doing math and listen to our friends and teachers. You wonder why children need safe spaces when Elon Musk says, I might buy Twitter, and Twitter employees need safe spaces. It's because of stuff like this and much more bigger stuff than this, but this is a math book. So that's social emotional learning, and it's not necessary. So you might say, well, it's no big deal, it's this or that. DeSantis might have made a bigger deal out of it than it should have been. Okay. So what? That's politics. This is the first example, but that's politics. It doesn't need to be in a math book, and banning that book and replacing it with a book that doesn't have this emotional slant to it in an objective study like math, it's fine with me. At the end of the day, either the kids are learning what they need to learn or they're not. I don't care what the book is, especially with math. Another book has all these questions in it or statements. Hey, when we do math, we listen to the arguments of others and think about what makes sense and what doesn't. What can I learn from others thinking about the problem? What can you do to help all classmates feel comfortable in math class? This is the type of stuff a teacher might need to think about, recognize and respond to the emotions of others, but this doesn't need to be in a math book, though. That has nothing to do with math. Again, another one. Envision Florida BEST Mathematics Grade 1. They have a section called Learn Together, sharing your ideas, valuing ideas from others. This is math. That's not what we do here. And I used to be a math major. I did a lot of math in another life. I started out in my career as an actuarial analyst. And this is bizarre. I'd never, ever seen anything like this growing up, but I'm an ancient dude at this point. Learn together, share your ideas, value ideas from others, ask helpful questions. You don't even need that in there. It has nothing to do with anything. Is it dangerous? No, it could lead to other stuff, but I don't see it as dangerous. I see it as unnecessary. And the bottom line is parents have lost trust when you gaslight them and say critical theory is not in school. And we know it's in school, it's in legislation, it's everywhere. So when you gaslight somebody and then they start seeing, oh, this is a little unusual, then they're going to say, we don't want it. And the parents don't want it, a lot of them. And DeSantis is just listening. Another example of a loss of trust. Look at this. All it is a book that has the history of African Americans in mathematics. So they have that, and then they have people of other backgrounds too. James Garfield, for example. Regardless, these vignettes are not an example of CRT. I fully agree. So, but remember, we don't know why DeSantis banned these books, or DeSantis's Florida. Obviously, it's on him, but the Florida Department of Education. So it might not have been for that reason. But that all that means is, really, DeSantis, you probably should show the receipts. But I'm digging in deep. Who's digging in deep to this? DeSantis is playing to your average person, and they want to, parent, they want to feel comfortable that their representatives hear them and say, we don't want anything that even makes me think about it in our classroom. So why would he get into the nitty gritty when he's already served that purpose? This book here, MJ Grade 8 Mathematics, it talks about keeping a positive mindset, actively participating. It sounds great. But then it's always like collaborate and stay positive. That's fine. That's it. So it always sounds great, but it's completely unnecessary. Pause and reflect. In a math book, how did you show others that you value their ideas during class today? Where in the lesson did you feel the most confident? Just completely unnecessary. If you want that in books, fine. I don't think that's unconstitutional, in my opinion, those examples, because critical race theory is. So we haven't seen anything unconstitutional, but that doesn't mean Florida can't say that doesn't meet our standards. I'm going to end here soon. Another book, Thinking Mathematically. This one was rejected, and this one comes the closest. We're looking at the book, and the book's purpose is to understand and reason with quantitative and issues and mathematical ideas students are likely to encounter in college, career, and life. So this book is real general. I don't think I've ever taken a class like this on this topic. I've taken logic and stuff like that, but this one is getting really on the borderline, and I don't like it. It gives you this hint here. It includes a discussion of prejudice, but the writer here says only as an example to illustrate that correlation does not equal causation. Well, right now, we don't want to hear correlation, causation with prejudice. Here's how the problem went. Correlations can often be seen when data items are displayed on a scatter plot. Although the scatter plot in this figure indicates a correlation between education and prejudice, we cannot conclude that increased education causes a person's level of prejudice to decrease. There are at least three possible explanations. So this concept of correlation versus causation is a big one. Comes up a lot in life now. But the part that is a little unsavory is we're looking at education and prejudice. And normally probably wouldn't be a problem with this for all my life growing up. I might have even had a problem like that, and I wouldn't even have thought twice about it. But in our environment, it's just not going to fly. And Florida did give a heads up. Florida sent out a letter in summer of last year, and they said here to all these publishers, and they said, here's what we don't want. And they gave examples that looked very similar to that. So they had a heads up to redo another version, reprint, whatever, and take that stuff out of there. So it's not like it just came out of the blue. They talked about stereotyping. Stereotyping is literally one of the tenets of critical race theory. So that is in there. But so here's how they talked about it. They said, stereotyping refers to classifying people, places, or things according to common traits. So they're going to show you, hey, how do you think about stereotypes with inductive and deductive reasoning? For example, school has nothing to do with life. Intellectuals are nerds. Is that true or not? No, that's not always true. School has nothing to do with life. That's not true. People on welfare are lazy. That's not true. But they're bringing in these concepts that they're like, well, this is getting a little bit too in the gray area for them. So there's another one. Here's the last example I'm going to show. Here's some discussions about race, and then they talked about racial inequality, and they talked about sickle cell. And I didn't have a problem with this one, but it just shows the lack of trust. They said that approximately 1 in every 500 African American infants is born with the disease of sickle cell anemia. Only 1 in 160,000 white infants have the disease. And then they go on. But I think it's factual, and that's not critical race theory. But that's what happens when you gaslight people, and people on the left, they think they're being gaslit by DeSantis now. It all goes back to what I said. Some people were saying, hey, DeSantis should leave it up to the community to decide what's in the book or not. That's a libertarian approach. I say we can't do that until we make sure that the Constitution backs both sides. I haven't seen anything here that I would consider critical race theory. But if you open it up and say the community can decide, and you can choose critical race theory if you want, and you can choose anti-critical race theory if you want, then we'll be fair. But I guarantee you, so if a school district in a county in Florida said, we want to put critical race theory in schools, and then another school system or county said, we want to do anti-critical race theory. So if you do pro-critical race theory and then you should be able to do anti-critical race theory. And I guarantee you the Constitution would be used, the Civil Rights Act would be used against the group that did anti-critical race theory, but not against the group that did pro-critical race theory. And that's why we need to look at national divorce before we can break things down to the local level. Because what we're looking at right now is an inconsistent application, potentially, if that were to break down like that, of the Constitution. So let me know what you think. How bad are those examples? Are they not bad? Take care.